Hey, welcome to another one-to-one thing drop in. Um, I'm the host and the resident water cooler hangout guy, Steve Wright. Welcome. And I'm by myself today. So I'm hoping the fact that I've gone live and it notifies people in various platforms that I'm around, that they all come and join me. But nonetheless, it's one of those things you always have to prepare for anticipate the fact that you're going to start a dropping event by yourself. I've got some music in the background here, which I'll pause it. Actually, I don't know how quiet it is. Really nice, keeps me cool. It's my lo-fi playlist. Um, and actually, is this let me turn it off here? So yeah, it's been. I had a great session last week. Really enjoyed having the guests that dropped in. Great to see my dear friend Mark Whiskey, Captain, Don, Justin, Sandra connecting with us, and um, I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but nonetheless, it was just really nice to have a good water cooler session. Since then, oh, Tony Pincham, the week before that, giving us a call to action around listing 36 things, which I think I shared last week, sort of my 36 things. The idea is to have a list of 36 things and have six dice that you roll to determine which of those things you do in that moment at the dice roll. And um, interesting concept, just kind of having the luck of the draw almost determine what you do next and being okay with that. So it's a very interesting way to think of things. Um, Let me just check here. I've got a message coming in here. Let's see if I can pick this up while I'm on here. I'm multitasking, so just bear with me a second here. Nope, can't see it. So yeah, so that was good in terms of just an idea to beat procrastination, gets you going and thinking about things in the first case. Um, and then uh, there is something that's on my I guess since last week. Something that's kind of transpired since last week is I'm very mindful of how much time I spend virtually connecting with people, which I love to do, whether it's through a podcast show, the One to One Thing podcast, or whether it's just through various platforms. Having worked and lived in the States, now back in England, I have a lot of friends and connections the other side of the pond. So virtually is the way to go. Um, but also just enjoying where I am in sort of time of life and location, and allows me to really be involved in local things. So uh, playing music or percussion, dancing, which I love, salsa, kizomba. I've talked about it a few times before, and just on some of the networking events, which have been really cool. Oh, got someone joining us here. Carla's in the house. Carla, how are you? I hope she can hear me. If I can't even see her, got them, just to avoid some technical issues here. Carla, uh,
Hi, Steve.
there you go.
Okay.
My my driver and warrior.
Thank you. Thank you. Technical difficulties, but I'm here. So,
Oh, amen, amen. You know what? It's designed to plague us. It makes us reminds us that we're human.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is not. Yeah, perfection isn't this side of heaven. So,
No,
but there you go. How have you been?
I'm doing great. I've, I'm like a big kid. I love finding out about new stuff.
Uh huh.
And I was just on the phone probably about 30 minutes ago with a guy that's located here in Sanford. and this has nothing to do with me being a warrior, nothing to do with uh, enlightening anybody, unless the conversation with him was enlightening for me. But he owns a shop here that does some type of ceramic coating that goes on your car to make the paint last forever, or at least 3 years out, with no dents, no nicks, the pollen blows right off of it, rain repels right off of it, rocks from trucks. And I was like, wow. I said, so it's like a nail polish acrylic for your car. He said, yeah, it's got the same stuff in it. And I'm like, why didn't I come up with that? And he's right here in Sanford. And I saw it on a friend of mine's post who's on the school board with me, because he had waxed his car and he was like, it's got to be somebody local that can do this, because this is hard work.
You're right.
And I was like, there's no way I would even think about trying to do that, because I don't feel like doing it. But I looked up this guy and then I saw the pictures and I was like, wow. It's very impressive. Better than the car dealership when you get your car from the car dealership. It's beautiful. So
finish of the production.
I said, I'm going to share this with everybody, because you like giving me a brand new toy. I used to get excited like this as a kid, because once a month my parents would take us to Toys R Us, and people are like, Toys R Us. So I'm dating myself for the millennials and I guess what Gen Zers and all of that. But Toys R Us was a big deal to us with Jeffrey the Giraffe, and getting to go to Toys R Us and pick out a toy every month. Did we need a toy every month? No, but we got one. Right. But we had to also, do our chores, make good grades, and do what we're supposed to do at home, and be respectful, all the good stuff that comes along with it. Mm-hmm. But I always look forward to that. And now with this, it's like I got a new toy and I've got to share it with everybody. No, he's not paying me anything. I'm not getting paid to be his spokesperson or anything like that. I just love doing it when I find out something that I like. So,
and we can be so quick to dismiss a compliment, whether it's to us, and we can be sort of wary about sharing good things,
right.
It may not be everyone's cup of tea to have their car.
No.
Ceramic.
They might go, what is she talking about? I don't care about whether my car shines or not, but why not? We're shining in life. Why not? And I think I'm going to treat myself to his service for my birthday. And if not my birthday, at least for Christmas. But I think it's really neat. Oh, cool. I really do. But the only downfall is I love going to the car wash. Oh. To go, that's my happy place. Going through with the water and all the brushes falling around. Yeah, but he let me know that the car wash, and no offense to the owners of car washes, because I love the car wash, but this guy told me that is no good for your car. So
okay, yeah, chemicals.
That's the downfall.
I want to say hi to Narish. Narish,
hi,
how
Narish.
you doing?
Hiya. Hi. Nice to meet you both.
First time joining.
First time, yeah. I finally managed to get time. So
fantastic.
Good to meet you both.
Where you calling in from?
London.
Oh, okay. So you're in my neck of the woods. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you based?
I'm in Lancaster. So I'm sort of up
north. Yeah.
Yeah, but and you have to forgive me, Carla. Meet Narish.
Hi, Narish.
Narish, meet Carla. And I'm meeting Narish as well for the first time here. So you gotta.
Wow.
I can't remember. I don't remember how we're connected, but this is the beauty of LinkedIn, right? You have all these connections, and
I get your LinkedIn messages around joining 1-to-1, and I haven't managed to join it yet. So today is the day.
Right. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, tell us a bit about what you do in the world, and how you show up.
Interim advisor, operator to private equity funds and venture capital firms. Used to actually, Carl, are you based in America?
I'm in America. I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina. So I lived in US for a couple of years in Chicago and Philadelphia, sort of post MBA, worked with a consulting firm called Accenture, and then took a transfer to UK about 10 years ago. precisely 9 years ago, actually. Um, and after a year in UK, I realized UK is much smaller compared to America, so I don't have to travel that much, and most of the work happens in London anyways, and I can make a good living in London rather than sharing sort of my rate card and my income with the sort of house, as they say in consulting. So I pretty much do the same work I was doing in Accenture, but now I sort of work directly with the client on my terms. Has been good, I think, except the last 2 years where I don't know how much you follow M&A markets and private equity world, but because of Trump, because of tariff, etc., people are not doing deals, and if they're not buying companies, then they need less of expertise I provide, which is sort of either helping them close the transactions, or once they buy the company, then help them sort of improve the company from good to great or distress to health. And in some cases, sort of governance, but in other cases, go deeper into the company in proper interim roles and run functions, run teams, which I love. So that's my story in a nutshell.
That's beautiful. Great. It's great to have that side of the business industry on this call. Um, Basically, I mean, you asked in the chat before you joined what a warrior was, and because I introduced Carla as a warrior. She's been a guest on my one-to-one thing podcast, and she well, you tell a story, Carla. No, you're right here.
I was born with two rare blood diseases, Narish. One is sickle cell disease, and the other is thalassemia.
I
So we
see.
call ourselves warriors, sickle cell warriors, thalassemia warriors.
Yeah. And are they behind you, or both those conditions?
I'm going to have them.
You're fully recovered.
I'm born with them. It's genetic.
I see. I see.
They do have cures for sickle cell, either
Yeah.
through a bone marrow transplant or gene therapy, but I don't qualify for that.
I see.
Part of it is because of my age. They usually do the bone marrow transplants in people who are much younger. I look younger, but I'm not. I'm closer to 60 than
Are you?
I'll have.
Wow.
Yes, so that's why.
Yeah, I am 40, but I don't look 40. I think PE ages you faster. So I need to learn from you how to look younger.
I'm gonna have to
Lots of
quote you on
water,
that.
lots of
PE.
water, and don't be afraid to be a kid. I
Yeah.
am a big 4-year-old, so you're probably very serious a lot of the times. I'm silly most of the time. I can be serious, but I mean, for what? Life is too short to be that serious.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how I
Yeah.
feel.
So
So,
true. So true.
and
I,
dance
and
more.
dance. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
what do you do for fun, Narish?
I haven't got the sort of dancing gene, so I won't try that. But I'm into sports. Sort of cycling is my thing, and then running, definitely sort of park runs, as we call it in UK, on every Saturday. But mostly sort of cycling as and when the life permits and when I'm not traveling.
Yeah, yeah. It's well, cycling is probably the fastest way to get around London nowadays. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah. When I joined, Steve, I think maybe keen to hear sort of your journey. So, what's the sort of story behind this podcast, and what do you sort of plan to
Yeah.
achieve, and then what sort of do people offer and get in return?
Yeah. Well, my story. I haven't told it for a while, but it essentially, I mean, 30+ years in IT, and a good chunk of that, probably half of that, it was spent in the US. I was in California, um, and moved out there to follow Tony Robbins, a motivational speaker. I actually met him in
Yeah,
the UK, worked with his team here, and then I had the opportunity to join the company in San Diego. So that was what brought me to the States. What kept me in the States was my IT background, H1 visa worker, for most of those years, well, all of those years. Applied for green card, lots of issues. Came
so
to
you were
America.
born in UK, you're British, but
I'm
then
a
lived in
Londoner.
America.
Yeah, I'm a Londoner.
Yeah,
So So that's that background. Fast forward to 2022. Was let go from my position at the company. Just shift of focus, and almost saw it coming, but it's one of those things. Same year, I filed for divorce. 27-year marriage. Um, Things are good now. I mean, it was tough time, but you get through these things, and things are good. Two adult daughters in their mid and late 20s, and I at that time I pivoted into wanted to lean on what I wanted to do. A bit like Carla says, you got to do what drives you, really,
Yeah.
because ultimately if you're so busy making a living, you're not actually creating a life. You know,
Yeah.
so that was a big driver. I started podcasting because it was one of those things that gave me a chance to just talk to a microphone. Usually, most of it was for myself. And to be honest, I'm a year and a half in, 86 episodes on the one to one thing, which is the name of the podcast. Reason being, it was like a one-on-one conversation. It's the conversations that we have with ourselves, with in our workspaces, and people in relationships. And the one thing, ONE, was a shout out to Gary Keller's book, The One Thing, to make a lot of our conversations tend to fragment into other things, and we don't get the one thing covered.
Yeah.
So that was a shout out for that, and then I started audio. I was on LinkedIn. I was doing these formats as like a drop in and on audio format. Very easy, no video, just you walk up and do your thing. LinkedIn doesn't record them, so basically, if you're not there live, you don't get it. There's no replay. So I
Yeah.
moved to video. My podcast was audio, and I actually now shoot video with the podcast. Um, and that's why this format of a drop in every week comes up. It's great exercise. Anyone who wants to watching this who is scared about public speaking or just presenting or just getting into
Yeah.
that space, do this.
Yeah.
I rock up every week. I don't know who's going to show up. I don't have it. This does not have an agenda other than I think, well, I don't know. People have said that it's a place to connect, for one, really connect in terms of LinkedIn I've got thousands of connections, but that's just on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Cares more about those connections than I can ever, because I don't connect with those people. And like you, today is a testimony to that.
Yeah.
It's a chance to shop authentically. It's a chance to really enjoy what you do, showcase what you do. I don't mind. I don't mind promoting things that are in a positive space. If people are doing things that are good and they want to share it here, sure. I mean, I don't mind people hawking what they do or sharing what they
Yeah.
do. But be authentic, and be positive, and that's what keeps you young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carla and I have got almost I've got 2 decades on you if you're 40, because
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
52. So, um,
And are
but
you like sort of life coach now?
I
Certified?
I do. I have certifications from Joseph McClendon, who is Tony Robbins' head coach within his platform. He's got his own institute, Neuro Encoding Institute, and I have certifications from that. I also work in the coaching space with primary schools, so I do a lot of work with. I run a franchise group called I run a franchise within a group called Jam Coding, and we provide um, primary school computing support to the to for kids, for the schools themselves, and for local councils. So that is an opportunity. Again, Carla's talking about being a 4-year-old, right? I'm surrounded. I'm surrounded by them. It's half term right now, so I've got a week off. They end up coming back next week. So there's nothing. Again, that's a great presentation muscle. If there's nothing like being in front of a room of 7-year
Yeah.
olds
Yeah.
to understand what's going on. So, are you a family man, Namish?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got two girls. So I'm the sort of only boy in the house. Two daughters, one wife.
That was me too. Alpha male.
I won't say that. So you can't be
Oh, you're
alpha
the
with the
only
girls.
male.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fantastic. So, private equity. A lot of people are in this space of in a sort of, I guess it's tend to be service people, right, Carla? I mean, we're in that space where we're in a service position, and I guess that kind of qualifies for a lot of things. You mentioned working with companies in terms of interim roles and the dynamics of acquisition or sort of turnaround.
Yeah.
I mean, I would speak a little bit to what that entails and what are some of the challenges organizationally in terms of the size and structure of the company, but also interpersonally, people's mindset around I just got acquired and what does that mean to me?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are various facets. It depends on what we call investment thesis from the private equity is why are they buying the company in the first place? Yeah. It could be a good to great story, which means I'm buying a really high growth company and then I plan to add more companies to it, which will drive some synergies, but overall tries to um, create a platform or company which is sort of better than its component parts, which will be able to grow faster, go into different geographies, capture more market share, drive pricing improvement. So we look at sort of what the plan is, and then I sort of help both the CEO and the sort of investors to build that journey from sort of point A to point B, which is entry now and then exit in sort of 4 or 5 years, and what would be the different stages of that journey, and how do we cascade that ambition into specific targets and hold people accountable for those targets, but also enable them with the specific capabilities and interventions which could come in the terms of the governance, where people are, sort of held accountable, but they also get the sort of shouting and also the support. It could come in terms of where the talent gaps are. So, if the current management is not up for the job, then how do you um, coach them, mentor them, but also sort of move them if they are really not up for it? And sometimes people raise the hand, sometimes people sort of need to be pushed out. Um, and I mean, I've done sort of hard hitting restructuring, which is, companies in distress, and now it's all about cash and cash only. So you need to preserve cash, you need to recover value for the lenders and for the creditors and for the investors. In other situations, it's pretty much um, we are sort of X now, but we want to be 5X in the 5 years, which is very exciting, motivating for everybody involved. And I think people make good money along the way. Um,
Mm, that's interesting. As you, do you have a question? Do you have any thoughts, Carla? I mean, I'm talking a lot. I just wanted to.
I'm listening and absorbing it all. I'm grateful for you popping in today.
Yeah.
I
I
don't have a
mean,
question yet, but I'm sure I will.
it's interesting that some of the dynamics that you talked about now is around an organization. I was thinking to myself, these are things if the organization was one, they have the same sorts of challenges. What you said, taking a company from good to great, and also taking a company from distress to health. And I'm thinking, man, that's I don't know. Sometimes my organization, me, I'm not sure if I'm going from good to great, or sometimes I'm dealing with distress to health.
yeah,
so, so it's interesting how some of those things where we can talk about them dispassionately because it's an organization, it's out there, it's
yeah,
money, it's balance sheets, it's things on paper, it's metrics. You can have a dispassionate view of them, but then sometimes if you introspectively look at yourself and think of yourself like an organization, you have to do the same exercises, understand where you are. Are you in distress or are you good?
yeah, yeah,
Where you want to go, um, and then have those metrics be applied because it's important for them to be there for yourself. How do you measure good for
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah. I mean, when I joined, I think I might have sort of misheard, but you were talking about procrastination and sort of how to beat procrastination.
Mhm.
Can you just talk a little bit more about that? Because it's about, as you said, yes, um, we are all sort of accumulation of people at different points in society, right? Some
Yeah.
people come together to make a company. I think sort of companies come together to make economy, and economy come together to make sort of what we have in the global um, economy.
Yeah.
But in the end, the change starts with the person, which is the smallest unit of change, yeah,
Yes.
and impacting change, which is much harder, yeah.
Yeah. And again, I think there's an element. So I've got a bit of a feedback here. Can you hear?
I can hear you well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I can hear myself in my headphones, but that's
Yeah, I can hear an echo too, Steve.
yeah. I'm not sure. It's are you on a speaker now, Ish?
I am, yes.
Is there might be a setting to just I don't know if there's a noise cancellation setting in the settings. Or just let's have a look.
For default communications.
Echo cancellation. If you go to settings in Restream,
Is
if you want
any
to,
good?
okay, that's better. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that did it. Um, yeah, your question about procrastination, not to dismiss that one. Yvonne's joined. That's great. Another net new guest. That's fantastic. Um, yeah, there's a lot of talk about what procrastination is. It's easy to kind of define it in terms of just putting something off. It's I mean it's actually means procrastin. Now, 'cause I think crastin is Latin for to like tomorrow or the next day. So it is putting something forward.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's good. I think procrastination isn't. It doesn't. It gets an unnecessarily bad rap. Um, it's really coming down to whether you've defined what's important first to determine whether you procrastinate. Um, I do this. This isn't procrastination for me. I don't put this off to Thursday because I've advertised it for Wednesday.
yeah.
It happens. We have
But
some.
that is because you love it, right? You do more of what you love and you put off what you don't like.
So then it's not procrast. So then put the challenge isn't procrastination as much as identifying what is required and what is desired, if you like. You know, if you've got those things on straight, then procrastination falls by the way. You know, I've had a very productive week this week, um, and I can point it to a couple of things that I did. Well, I've been invited. I was invited to a mastermind group that met in person, and um, I attended that group and was sort of selected within that group to be the person that they would look at their business issue, and people gave me advice on it and stuff, and
Yeah,
I came away with a whole list of stuff to work on. And it really impacted me because there was an accountability side of people telling me, giving me good advice, and me deciding to be humble and proactive enough to with take it on board and act on it, knowing I have to report back to them, a bit like you do in your business, right? So that was a factor, and then it led to other. It's like a mini habit attracting other habits to it. You know, you brush your teeth, you floss because the floss is right next to the toothbrush.
yeah,
So going to the mastermind attracted another habit with regards to me looking at one of the goals was to look at my financials. Um, and it's one of those things I don't like to look at. I like to feel good even if I'm not good.
yeah,
And you know, you look at your financials and there's some distress there. So um, but realizing that it was important to do it, bring it to
yeah,
the light, you know, and it's important that things are brought to the light are not criticized as much as observed and noticed. Um, and then that just kind of there's a lot of mindset around that. being okay to bring things to the light. That's why this platform I love, because it's authentic. I'm not faking anything. It's not AI.
I mean, sometimes we overemphasize the power of self motivation, right? Uh,
Yes, I think
I'll
so.
get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I would love to, but it's hard.
Well, um, you have to question. You have to question the first part of that statement. I would love to. What is it about 5 a.m. that you love, or that you could love? I'm not saying 5 a.m. is good. I'm just saying, what is it about 5? I don't. You would never get me up at 5.
Yeah,
Never say never, Steve.
I'll be. You know. The best way to get me up at 5 is to
What?
keep me up through the night.
yeah,
I'll be
yeah,
up
Okay.
at 2, and I'll stay up until 5. I've done that, working internationally, and then I'll sleep the afternoon.
yeah. I mean,
It's
I'm more productive in the morning. It just I get so much more done,
Hmm.
but because you lie in the bed and sort of overthinking, you're not even sleeping like deep sleep.
Mm.
So it's one of those things which is either you get out or you sleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in between. And then when you get out, I think the first feeling is I could have achieved or gained 1 hour extra productivity, right? Which is not the first thought you should start the day with.
No,
So
not at
when
all.
I get up, I feel good about it because now I got 1 extra hour, and I get 1 more hour to myself because things I'm supposed to do will get done, and then I'll get 1 more hour to myself, whatever I really want to do in that space.
Yeah, I got
yeah,
a response to that. But Carlo, I think Carlo was going to say something, and
yeah,
I'd like to hear Carla talk about. You talked about sort of almost like forcing yourself to do something when you don't want to do it. And I know Carla's got a mindset around that because she has challenge. She may have a health challenge or a health situation that requires her to pay attention. You know, so the
right.
different
A lot
mindset.
of times, you're right, Steve. But a lot of times I wake up and I'm in pain, but I can either, it's a choice. I can lie there and just say, well, I'll just rest the whole day, or I can get up, take a hot shower, and do something about it, or meditate and do something about it. I found even with having rare disease, these two rare diseases that cause a lot of chronic pain,
Yeah,
it's better when I get up. Even like yesterday, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now I could me Carla says pull the sheets back over my head and go back to sleep. But then the other force that's within me, the light and what's been developed and growing and becoming the newest best version of me through that man that's over my shoulder, along with coaches like Jim Britt, who was Tony Robbins' first coach, and Jim Lutz, who is an international mind therapist and hypnotherapist, telling me, hey, you can get up that early. You have so many more hours in the day. And then when I do it, now I'm not saying it's easy. It's not like I just spring up and get up out of the bed and start getting ready. It's a gradual thing. I will listen to some meditation. I'll listen to some Miles Monroe. I'll listen to some other things. I may pray for an hour or so, just deep thought, because it's very quiet. That's when me and God, he's always with me, or whoever whoever your superpower is. But with me and God, one on one, it's quiet and I can focus. Then I get up and I have all this time to get things done. And it seems like whenever I've done that, I have 2 days instead of one, as far as our humanly possible 24 hours.
yeah,
It seems to stretch into 48 or more. And then I'm like, wow, it's only 6 o'clock, but I've done all this stuff.
yeah,
Whereas as opposed to when I wait and get up, when Carla would prefer fighting getting up that early, then my day is slow. I usually feel a lot more sluggish. Yeah, I'm productive and get things done, but am I as productive? No.
yeah, yeah,
So I prefer to just, and once you do it once or twice, it's easier to do it. when you're awake, and a lot of people go, oh, I just woke up because I have to go to the bathroom. Oh, I just woke up because I heard a noise. And we give ourselves all these excuses. But for me, I choose to say I woke up because that's the time God needs me up, and I
Yeah.
need to be doing something to make
Yeah.
an impact and reach my goals and make this world better. If I keep sleeping through it, I mean, I can sleep when I'm dead, but if I get up and do something, it just makes things a whole lot better. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
my spill.
That's fascinating. Yeah. Yeah.
That is cool.
Get somebody new.
I've got something else that happened this week, and part of it is this young lady that just joined us here. Shanielle, how are you? Can you hear us?
Hold on. Let me try rejoining.
Okay, all right then. And if you can go landscape, it fills the screen better. That's all. Rather than portrait. I know people have their phones, and she's going to join again. But it's both of you are interested in talking about time forcing the activity, or time influencing the activity. And I did a post ages ago about I think it may have been a procrastination related post about time. The two Greek terms for time: chronos, which is time in terms of our watches, and kairos, which is time in terms of our experience. And they are very different. Chronos time is the one that you set to get to the airport or get a train. Kairos time is you having a wonderful date with your loved one, with a kid, with visiting nature, being in awe of something. I spent a day. Not even spent a day. I spent a day getting to the Grand Canyon, and I spent probably 2.5 hours at the Grand Canyon. That time, it was immense. I've never been in a place that has given me goosebumps and awe like the Grand Canyon. You can't photograph it. It's no point going there and taking pictures. You have to go there. And that is Kairos time as opposed to Chronos time. Waking up at 5 a.m., not my bag. It may be. I've done it. But this week, again, I learned a lot about intention management rather than time management. And for me, that's been a really useful shift, because my intentions inform my time, as opposed to making time be the thing that says it's 5 a.m. I've got to get up.
Yeah.
Or it's 6 a.m. I've got to go to the gym, or it's 5 p.m. and I've got to knock off from work.
Yeah.
Right. Setting the intentions and the focus. For me, I'm finding, because this is the journey I'm on. I'm not arrived. I've started it, and I enjoy it. And the intentionality is a great muscle to build, because then I can be flexible with the time. If I've got to get something done, that's my intention and focus, regardless of the time. I may have to move things around. I may have to disappoint somebody. There may be consequences of me doing it now versus tomorrow. Hence, procrastination kicks in, or it doesn't kick in, but it's brought up. If you have an intention, procrastination it gets pushed down.
Yeah.
Time will increase procrastination, because procrastination is a time-based activity.
Yeah.
Something off.
Yeah.
You're not doing it now, you're doing it tomorrow. So it's a time-based activity, whereas the intention is the intention.
Yeah. I mean, you both spoke, Carla, who's that picture behind you? You spoke about it.
Les Brown. Les Brown.
Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't come across him. So, but
he was ranked the number one. No, he's ranked the number one motivational speaker in the world.
I see. I'll check it out. And then you mentioned Tony Robbins.
Yes.
So you worked with Tony Robbins. Yeah. I haven't gone to a motivational speech yet, but I imagine it's an experience. I think I am self-motivated. But I would love to experience that. I know these are powerful speakers.
Yes.
But what's Tony Robbins' journey? So you sort of, he started his own motivational speaking business, and then you were with him.
I mean, he's very popular. It's been about 30 years. He came to the UK in '93. I saw him live in '93, and then in the UK, and then attended almost 30 years later in the same in Birmingham. He was in Birmingham in 23. His Unleash the Power Within. So you can just you can research.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Now I heard of him actually. Yeah, I haven't. So
yeah. But I want to say hi to Shanielle. Welcome, Shanielle, because
Hi.
like Navish, I know Shanielle, so it's just great to have her here. And thank you for being patient and let me introduce you. But Navish is net new to this space.
New, yeah. So
yeah,
I actually felt like I am supposed to be here. And when I came in, sorry, it's Carla. I'm looking at my screen here, trying to figure out what am I seeing here. Even with 4 eyes, it's not as good as it should be. So forgive me about that. But just a moment ago, I was reflecting on rest. And how one of the things that I am really grateful for is that my husband Jeremy and we started honoring a day of rest, where every single Saturday we don't do anything work related. We do things that literally fuel us up. And we've been doing it for probably 2 months now. And it's one of the best decisions we have ever made. It's not like we don't even have a lot of things to do. We have a lot of things to do because I do nonprofit work. He has we both have businesses. We both have family and all of that stuff going on. But we literally said, you know what? If God created the world in 6 days and he gave that command to rest, like it's one of the 10 commandments, like honor a day of rest, there must be something there, right? And even though we're pretty smart people, maybe we can pick up something from that. And I keep saying it's one of the best decisions because it doesn't matter how much we have to do in the week. That day, it rejuvenates us. That day becomes a day where we get to do things that we have been meaning to do but haven't gotten to do, like going off for we go for walks every day. Like we make that like an intention of let's pause whatever we're doing at some point during the day and go for a walk, because it does something. It renews your mind, it renews your body. You come back stuck, you left stuck on something. By the time you come back, you're like, that's what I couldn't figure out, right? And just being able to just relax, sleeping, right? And so I was listening to Steve, and I was like, he's so right there, because so many times we spend so much time shooting on ourselves. I should do this, I should do that. Says who? Right? The big thing that for me really sticks around what drives what actions I need to take at any given point in my day is I know who I am. I know the vision for the thing I have. I know the priorities around that. And I've heard it's not Les Brown, it's Miles Monroe. There was a line he said, I came across a video of his where he said, vision drives discipline. Vision drives intention. Like you will become your most disciplined self when you have vision. And so for me, I tend to pause and I'm like, who do I want to be? Who am I? Right? Where do I see myself going? And based on that, that's how I craft my life. I want to be somebody who is successful and having impact in every area of my life. But I also recognize that when it comes down to me, the best way for me to do that is ensure that I am my most rested self. And so I came in and I was just like, wow, those are just some of the thoughts I was pondering here, and to just landing on this conversation, I was just like, yep, Lord Jesus, I'm in the right space.
I love what you said about vision, vision, vision driving intention, and I just put it just made me think of people perish. The Bible says people perish for lack of vision.
Yeah, because you cast off restraint. Like your day becomes you mentioned disappointing people. When you don't have vision and you have no idea where you're going, then your calendar becomes open to everyone, right? Because it's now about what everybody else want versus where you are going. If you don't know where you're going, that's like la la la. Whatever happens today happens. Whether
Yeah.
I feel getting up out of bed this morning or not, I'll sleep in because I feel like it, right? And not to say there's anything wrong with sleeping in. I love sleeping in, right? But if it's a morning where I'm supposed to get, like, I know because of the things that I have planned for that day, it requires me getting up at 5:30. There's no way I'm gonna be in bed at 5:30 because I got things to do.
Yeah.
Mm. Does that help, Navish? I mean,
Yeah, it does actually. Well, lovely to meet three of you. Such a
yes,
pleasure. I need to jump off now for
sure.
call, but
Yeah,
yeah. Any
that's
point in
fine.
time you are down south in London, Steve, give me a shout. We'll get a
Yes,
coffee
yeah.
together.
Dear me, will stay connected. It's been a real pleasure to meet you.
Yes.
It's I love when connections become real connections. So
Yeah, yeah.
thank you for making the time
Good
and
seeing you,
sharing.
Carla. Bye, Chanel.
Nice meeting you too.
Lovely to meet you. Great.
Bye
That's
bye.
great. It's great. It's great having ladies on the call. Last week it was I think it's all guys on
It's
the
all guys all the time when
yeah
I'm on here, Shanielle.
yeah
So I'm glad to see you today.
yes and
Oh,
and
I don't know. I've been meaning to pop in for like a while, and I keep like, oh, today is Wednesday. And I don't know. I was just there pondering the rest, and I pulled up LinkedIn and I saw Steve's in the notification. And just like, all right, let me join. And here we are.
that's so cool. That's so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Intention versus time management is not that they're not mutually exclusive. Sometimes you've got to manage time because it that's a requirement of doing things with other
There
people.
and there you go. So I feel like there are a couple of things that are like connected because it's vision, intentionality, discipline, flow, meaning how you operate, and stewardship. And so I feel like vision drives all the others. It determines how you move about. It determines what you're disciplined around. It determines what your intentions are, and it determines your stewardship.
Mm.
Time is a resource that we're given to steward. Bible says we have probably what 70 years. That's what's given to man. If you live above that, yeah, you're good. You're doing good. Yep. But we have 70 years. How do we use that time?
Yeah.
There's so many people who we see achieve so many things in so short a span of time that people are saying that they think they need 20, 30 years to do. And it's because of intention. It's in terms of their discipline. Why? Because they have a vision that's driving them. And because of that, they got so focused around how they use the resources that they've been given.
Mm.
So, like, for me, it's just, I just think they're all connected. It's one interloops into the other, and it all drives to that one thing.
Mm. Mm. Yes. I got I can't argue with anything that's being said today.
No, I love it. I agree.
I mean, it's interesting because now Navis posed the question around procrastination, and we
Mhm.
don't necessarily have to answer it. We don't have to have a challenge, a question to answer as much as this being a space where we can sort of explore things. And um, yeah, I mean, yeah, that the whole thing of time versus time versus intent, time management, intention, focus management, vision, really kind of forming that and pulling you pulling you through things as opposed to being pushed with the shoulds. A lot of times,
Yep,
and
the shooting
sometimes
all
push.
over ourselves.
Yes, and the pushing is often, not always, often being imposed on us. We find ourselves
Mhm.
in a place where we feel we are in a should. That should statement is often driven by some other factor outside of you. And Jeremy talks a lot about the locus of control, where you have that,
Mhm.
whether the control, whether your locus of control is inside you or external to you, and that determines, I guess, where you're looking and what your intentions, what list of intentions you have in front of you. But and it's sometimes good to have both. I mean, I love accountability and advocation. You know, being an advocate for something. And we mash the word together to be advocountability.
Mm.
So, so it's I like that because it's not just accountable. It sounds like someone's just checking a box to make sure you did something, and they're testing you or they're quizzing you, and you've got to pass. You've got to make
Ah,
the master.
that's interesting because I hear you say accountability. And I have been so grateful for the people that I'm surrounded with. And one of the biggest reasons, you know, I talk about the pink flamingo, which is essentially someone who is being who God created them to be, even as they're showing up and serving their neighbors. They're honoring God, honoring themselves, and honoring their neighbors as well. And one of the biggest blessings for me has been the people in my life, the people who I call it hold me accountable because they remind me of who I am when I want to slack. They pull me by the shirt up. Like, what are you doing? That is settling. That's less than who you are. Right. And so when I think about accountability, that's what comes up for me. It's people who are your mirror,
Mm.
reflecting back at you who you are when you lose sight of it. I'm like, yep. A lot of people need a whole lot more of that because we say we have friends, but the only times they're friends is ha 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 when we're laughing and we're doing silliness. But who drapes you up when you're doing stupidness?
I've got a whole team who will check me with the quickness if I start drifting the other way, back into the old person. They're like, oh no, okay, you can, and I already know. In the same way with them, I've got maybe 5 minutes to gripe and whine and bitch and moan about whatever before they say, oh no 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 no. Okay, now are you finished? All right, well good. Now we're on to this.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those
My
are the
god
and
sister is the first one, yeah. And then I have a whole team of friends, and then I have coaches who will do the same thing. They will go, okay, no,
Mm.
or they might send me a text. Uh, are you scrolling or are you doing some work?
are you doing the
It's
thing
like,
that you should be doing?
right,
Yes.
yeah. I can go on Facebook. I'll post what I need to post, but I know if I stay on there too long, just decide, nah, I'm gonna just take 10 more minutes to see what people are doing. Jim Lutz, Jim Lutz is like my big brother now. He is bound to see that. I don't know how when he's running 5 companies, but it's like, guy, hey, Carla's on there scrolling much, and he pop one there, and it's like, okay, off. I'm off here. You know, I'm getting out of this room because I and it's good. It's healthy. I'm not complaining about it, but I consider them angels watching over me and making sure that I stay on task. And I
Yeah.
agree with you, Shanielle. Did I say it correctly? Make sure I
Yeah.
didn't. Okay, Shanielle. Making sure we stay on task and do what we're supposed to do. Like you said, we only have a certain amount of years. Nobody knows when we're going to leave this earth,
Mm-hmm.
and why waste time not getting things done? Forbes Riley is one of my coaches, and she shows this video, and Les Brown has one similar where they show the graveyard, and then they say a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people's dreams are right there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a big wake up call. Every time I see that or think about that, I don't want my dreams in the graveyard. I also don't want them in the trash can from somebody cleaning out my home and all these things that I would have, should have, could have done that I need to get done, or not need, choose and have the ability, and I'm allowed to do.
Mm.
Because I won't say need, because you don't need to do anything but what you're designed to do.
Yeah.
But I don't
There
want to
you
see all that stuff going in the trash, because then it's just like just as bad as going in the graveyard when I have the opportunity to make it happen.
Mm.
So
Yeah, and you said that graveyard sentiment, and I've heard Miles Monroe say it, use that same analogy and puts it a different way because he says a lot of the solutions that the world is waiting for is sitting in the graveyard,
Mm.
and I it that hits me because I am so big on impact. I am known to say I want to die empty. I don't want anything to be left in me when I die, right? And one of the things that has really struck with me is that, as a part of stewardship, I'm assigned to a group of people. There's a message that God placed in me for a group of people. There are solutions God placed in me for a specific group of people. And so every time I think about me not doing what I am called to do and being obedient to the pull that I know is on my heart around certain things, there's a group of people that's not getting that solution. They have
Absolutely.
a pain, they have a problem, and they're not getting it.
Right. I just wrote that this morning, so I know these are downloads from God and more confirmation for both of us. Definitely.
That is that
They're
is
waiting for us. If we don't do what we're supposed to do, how are they going to find us? How are they going to find their solution? And we're held accountable and responsible for these people that we're assigned to. We can't
Oh
just
yeah.
wait until that day happens. Well, I wanted to go to Chuck E. Cheese with my friends, and but I was going to a happy hour, or I wanted to go to this church function. But what did you do as far as helping the people that I assigned you to?
There you
yeah. You ladies are I don't want to say too wise, but you got some there's some insight on this. I definitely have to watch this replay. No, and anyone who is picking this up. I wanted to there's something that I remember I came at accountability from one lens,
go.
and Shanielle's lens on the same word was different. Um, and I it I'm sure Jeremy being one of my accountability friends and coach would like tilt his head and go, is there a belief in that? In terms of me thinking accountability is box checking.
Mhm.
Whereas Danielle's perspective on accountability is pulling up by the bootstraps, or pulling lifting by the collar, being raised to the standard that you you are at, as opposed to sort of someone just checking a box and ensuring that it's done. And it also, when I was thinking about that, and as you were sharing, it made me think. Both of you ladies taught very eloquently and full about people in your spaces that do that for you.
Mhm.
And I think to myself, is that a female thing? Is that a female trait where there's more in that circle, that they are more knitted and
Mhm.
interwoven? Because as you both shared about those people, at the drop of a hat, you've got half a dozen, maybe more than that, people that are just in that space that know you to the point where they'll go, "Girl, what you doing?" I don't know if I've got men in my space, or I may not present as a man that needs that kind of help. That's two things going on there. One is I do have, and I've sought them out. I do have advocability. I do have people who know what I'm doing and support me and act as guides.
Mhm.
Um, so I think I'm a bit further along the curve than maybe some guys out there, maybe. And I don't want to generalize, but I'm just wondering if that's a thing whereby
I
the,
heard you, and my thought immediately went to he who shows himself friendly has friends. Um, and I thought immediately back to probably 5, 6 years ago. I would have said everybody else has people who does that thing for them, but I don't. And the reason why I didn't is that, and it comes back down to that word stewardship, right? I wasn't stewarding the people in my life well, right? I was busy out doing the things, going after the things because that's what you're supposed to do. And so I would look around me and feel alone, or I realized I had a lot of surface level relationships. And when I started sowing into my friends, not only did it transform them, but it transformed me. And sometimes it's not even about friends, because sometimes it's about acquaintances who God leads you to, and you start sowing. Those seeds that you plant, without Jeremy and I like to talk about seeds, right? We go out and we just sow everywhere. Just, Lord, show me the seed that's in my hand, let me sow it, right? And you'd be so amazed at how those seeds and the time that you take to invest into someone, how that turns around and hits you in a way that you don't know you need it, right? And so I look around me years later, and I remember Jeremy and I got married in February, and we did a virtual, our wedding was streamed online, and even that was, it was so many people to invite. And I remember at one point, as I'm putting together the list, I am like, Lord, I never thought I'd see the day I am so annoyed that I am so loved, right? And I couldn't have said that years ago. But it's because of that intent. It's, again, it's the intention, it's the stewardship of sowing into people, right? And not going deep. You'll find yourself with more people around you who are ready to haul you up and call you up, because what? They recognize the benefit of who you are in their lives. And they want to see you thrive as much as you want to see them thrive.
Mm, yeah. And you know what,
Absolutely.
Carla?
They're not going to
Well,
let you settle for
Sandell's
less.
one of those people that is my accountability. I quick story, or story anyway. Don't know how quick it is. um, I I've been working with Jeremy in a coaching capacity, and I had a goal earlier this year to take my mum on her 80th birthday to Paris, and I'd set that intention and that goal late last year. Actually, no, actually, it was almost a year ago. She was here for her 79th birthday in the UK. We spent it here together. And I wasn't sure on the 80th whether I was going to be in Jamaica or she was going to be here. Um, and we kind of bounced ideas around. And she expressed she wanted to, go to Paris and see the Eiffel Tower. And then that became the beacon. And visions need a beacon. It can't be
Mm.
scattergun. If they're too vague, it's hard to hit. So that was one of the things that we worked on. It was very specific and working towards that vision. We were on top of the Eiffel Tower on her birthday, and who do I text?
Jeremy
Who do I
and
text?
Shaniel, we got the picture. And I was
So
so like, that left me feeling so emotional just to see it, because guess what? You had a vision that we bought into, and because we bought into it, we we did the extra to ensure that, Steve, we want that picture. Like, we need to see that happen, because we know how important it is for you, and because we love you, we wanted to ensure we did what we could to get it there, dude.
wow, yeah. So
It was our win too.
yeah, yeah. So it's beautiful. I love the analogy and the metaphor of sowing into people, because
Mhm.
we can be so transactional these days where we're looking for something, and people get so jaded about someone extending themselves, you know. And I I pray that we can be humble enough to receive the seed,
Yeah.
and be bold enough to hand over the seed that we have, you know, because sometimes we hang on to it because we're timid, or we think, oh, it won't be well received, or it's
Yeah.
something
And
going
I
on.
feel like that also requires a level of not being so attached to the outcome, because a lot of times we're sowing with the intention that, oh, I'm going to get something back out of this. But who says that? Like, scripture actually says, I think Paul says it, like the believers were arguing about um whose follower they are. And Paul said, you know what? I sow, and the other guy, I don't remember his name,
Someone
waters,
else,
but
yeah,
who makes it grow?
yeah,
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 any one of us,
yeah.
right? And so it's just like, God give you the seed, sow it, All right, God, make somebody else water if that's their duty. You grow it if that's your will for it. But at least I sowed it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's so beautiful, and you know what, it's interesting just having this discussion on. I don't know, LinkedIn. I've heard people have discussions around whether it's too professional and people don't get into the interpersonal stuff. Whether it's a faith based or a spiritual based or whatever in terms of just getting. I say real, but taking off that professional veneer. And one of my sort of taglines is that people are more than their profile. You can have
Hmm.
a great tagline under your name in LinkedIn, but I know everybody is more than that 30 characters or 50 character tagline, right? So, this has been, I love it. I want to land this because I want it to be short enough that people get the replay. But this has been absolutely jam packed. And when I started this afternoon, I had no idea where this would go and what shape this will take. And sometimes people say that to my detriment. You should be on a platform with a purpose. Let people know what they're coming to. Let them, and niche, and whatever. I get it, but my water cooler is legitimately a water cooler, and thank you so much. This has been, it's giving me tingles, man. You guys are definitely accountability partners here. So, whew. Thoughts, closing thoughts, comments.
And Shanielle, I feel full. Says you got to be hungry. Well, I might be hungry for some food, but I'm full, spiritually full right now. So thank you both.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
You gotta say
Nari,
it like Les says it, Carla. Say it like Les says it.
he says you got to be hungry.
Hungry.
Hungry. Yeah.
You didn't say
He's gonna
hungry.
get me. You're gonna get me in trouble because he might see this. You're gonna get me in trouble when I see him. I just saw him last
Les,
month
Les, we love
on a
you.
Zoom
We
birthday
love you.
party. Yeah, so
Oh,
he's gonna get me for
awesome.
mocking him.
Hey, it's a highest form of compliment, and we do it in love. We do it in love. So, thank you so much, Carla, Shaniel. Thank you so much, my friends. This has been beautiful. I'm sure I'm gonna pull some snippets from this and share with you all, share with both of you, because there's been some insights and sharing that has been powerful, and it just reinforces the need for vision so that we don't perish, and the value of stewardship so that we can sow into lives, and what grows, who grows, is not our doing as much as the calling to be a steward,
Hmm.
and be stewarded too. I think that's I hear that as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
I hate to
Thank
say
you
you
for the
both. I'm gonna be
opportunity. Thank
Yeah,
you.
this is
Thank you,
what we call
Shanielle.
you created the ground, Steve, and give people the opportunity to just come and sow
yes,
and to
yes,
be
yes.
sowed into. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Naresh,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us first time. And anyone watching this on a replay, come in. It's the water cooler. The water's fine. No pressure. Just walk up, say hi, and like I said, sow and be sowed into. So we're very blessed to have this space. Again, thank you, ladies. Have a great rest of your day.
You're
You
welcome.
too.
Thank
There's
you.
more of it heading
Bye
off to do,
bye.
but have a great day. All right, take care.
Bye bye.